That worries me a little bit. They expect it to be at a certain level, which I'm not sure if I'm there or not. But anyway, I came a few minutes later than I thought, so I wanted to say hello to everybody, but I didn't get a chance, so greetings to everybody. Today I will continue covering the Leap Canvas that we started talking about 2 weeks ago. Specifically today I'm going to focus on two boxes, and those are unique value proposition and unfair advantage. So just to recap, to review if you weren't here, or just a good recap, this is basically what we're talking about. This is a Leap Canvas, the one page that Chris mentioned, and we went about the room and talked about briefly. But just to cover, and I have my fancy little laser thing here so I can point, if it works. Oh, you know what? It's not going to work with the TV, so. Anyway, the problem is basically you have to identify three things that you want to cover. Three things that your target audience struggles with, three things that you can solve for them, which right next to it is a solution. So you have to identify things that offer a solution for these customers as they come with problems, the problems that they have. Next we have the key activity. So you have to do certain things, right? What are you going to do to actually provide those solutions to your customers? The channels, how you're going to reach your customers. The customer segments, you have to identify who is it exactly that you're targeting. So you have to have a specific persona in mind as you're doing your marketing, or as you're filling out this Leap Canvas. You have a specific target audience in mind to market to, or to provide those solutions to. Cost structure and revenue streams at the bottom is what they'll mention today. And the rest of the time today we'll talk about two boxes, the unique value proposition and unfair advantage. Does anybody have any questions or comments so far? So first I thought I should start with what exactly is it when we're talking about unique value proposition and unfair advantage? So with the two boxes that we're talking about is really making you differentiate yourself from others. So there are many competitors as you're doing, whatever business you're in, there are competitors, right? So those two things make you differentiate you between your competitors. So first, let's talk about what a unique value proposition is. I found this really great definition, and it says that unique value proposition is a single, clear, compelling message that states why you're different and why you're worth buying.
Can you
Okay?
repeat?
Oh, it's up there.
on the sheet.
Oh, it's up there.
Exactly.
It's on there.
I see that, I was trying to write it down.
Oh, sure.
Right here.
We'll post the slides.
Yeah, I can repeat
We
it.
will be
because I think
posting
it's-
the slides.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, it's simple idea, right? So let's talk about how you define your unique value proposition. So when you're thinking about your business, you can think about what is the primary reason that I'm different, right? So that's a simple way of rephrasing what the definition is. Also think about what is the value that your product or service can provide to your customer. And also, which customer needs or problems? So now we're thinking about from the customer perspective, what is their needs and what is their problems that your product specifically addresses or solves? Does that make sense? We'll delve a little bit deeper into those, but does anybody have, those are basically how you define your unique value proposition. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so let's say you thought about these questions, now you want to actually craft your message, so now you want to write that compelling sentence. From the business from the business model canvas that we've been talking about is, I wrote a cryptic message here. How does S solve P for CS, right? So if you look for the Leap Canvas that you have, S stands for the solution, P stands for the problem, and CS is for customer segments, right? So you have to think about, as you're filling out your business model canvas, what is the solution that you're providing for a specific problem that your customer segment has? Okay? And I think that's very critical because it brings in, if you fill the canvas correctly, you're using the terminology or the words that your customer needs. So you're addressing the problems from their perspective, right? So as you see what their pain points are, what the problems that they're facing, and you come up with the solutions to these problems, for a specific customer segment. And as was alluded to, for each canvas you can have, or for each canvas you can focus on one customer segment, but you can fill out as many canvases as you have customer segments. So if you have different target markets, for example, Chris, you're talking mostly about somewhere between 25 and 45, right?
Well, my new one or my,
Well, actually, go ahead. Can
The
you
new
share?
one.
well, that is something that was brought up 2 weeks ago, is that originally my target market was an older person, more mature person, and from the dialogue in this group, it was shared with me that I could teach my personal skills, develop personal development pieces to a younger group, which would be 25 to 40.
Right.
And that was a market I hadn't,
Thought of it.
no, I was
Yeah, and so.
really life skills.
Well, but it applies to everybody, right? But you can use your target audience at 45, they may have different pain problems or questions or things they use or things they relate to versus the 25-year-old, right? So you can fill out for each of your customer segments, you can fill out a canvas, figure out what the problems are, what words they're using, what solutions you can provide to that particular segment. This is a critical thing. So finished story benefit is a phrase that refers to what you actually are providing to your customers. So, everybody has heard here, instead of talking about features of your products, you can focus on the benefits of your products. But the finished story benefit actually takes it a step further. Not only are you talking about the benefit, but talking about what it actually accomplishes to the person. So if you're thinking about, for example, let's pick on someone else. Pam, for example, okay? So what is a feature, one of the features of your businesses? So you provide print design, business cards, for example, right?
I help, I was just writing down that one of my segments is startup companies
Okay.
that have nothing, and
Okay.
they don't know where to start.
Okay.
So that's a problem for them, is they don't know where to start, so.
Sure. But the feature, you can provide the print, all the print
Print
needs.
collateral, right?
The
Yes.
branding.
Collateral,
Yes.
right. So what's the benefit for them? The benefit is they'd be able to,
Well, the benefit is they can get
To
the
market.
products, but.
One-stop shopping.
Yeah,
That's-
but, yeah, I
somebody
think
can
the
come to you
benefit
and
is
you-
that they walk away with, kind of a plan of how they're gonna do,
Sure.
budget it.
and how will that help them in their businesses? So,
Kind of to see what's available and where they wanna start first.
but once they have all these material, they'll be able to market their business successfully, they'll be able to network successfully and share with their clients, with their customers.
Right, they're basically building the toolkit, the
Right.
marketing toolkit, yeah.
Right. So in this case, they're,
That's good.
Yeah.
Marketing toolkit is really good, and then
Oh,
the fact
thanks.
that
Yeah.
I would say, she's got one of the things that if you're looking at feature benefit solution, yes, it's print material, but the benefit of her print materials is that she creates a singular brand. You don't have your stationery looking one way, your business cards looking another way, and something else looking altogether different. I've actually seen people that have ordered business cards and they just think that the important part of their business card is just their name and their phone number, and so they keep ordering different ones. That's creating the wrong message. People don't know.
I just realized that probably something that I question why people are doing things, so I give them guidance. I won't, if I think that, why are they doing that?
Okay, I was gonna say something as far as you're different, because I know Pam,
Oh, thanks.
and it's a good thing, this is a good thing,
Okay, good.
because you are different in that they're not just a sale to you. You will give them the right advice to help them grow where they're at now, with where their money is now. You're not gonna say, oh, you need to do this, and you're going to tell them what will be effective for where they are right now, and you're not gonna try to give them something that they don't need.
Yeah, people come to me with what they know
Exactly.
and think they need, and I think what I bring to the table is, here's all the options, things they don't know that they don't know.
That would be the unfair advantage to me as a client, because right now, I'm actually looking for somebody to design and print media for me. And I've talked to a few people and they just design and print media. They don't sit and take into consideration brand management and a relationship and everything that goes with it. so that if I knew somebody was gonna actually take time to understand the objective of my business, and then hold my hand through the whole thing and make sure that they weren't just printing, that they were helping me to grow my business with a plan, that would be the value added
Sure.
beyond everybody else.
Definitely, definitely. And you can very easily figure out how that benefits them. So if you're thinking of it as their success, how you can help them succeed in business, you're not just providing a product to them, you're not just providing business cards and brochures and that type of products, but you're also providing a value. You're helping them in their marketing strategy, you're helping them succeed. So that would be their finished story benefit. Right? For anything, again, you have to think about what, who, and why, right? As you're crafting, as you're writing your unique value proposition, that single compelling statement about your business, you have to figure out who you're serving, what you're providing, and why. Okay? What is your product or service? Who's the customer? That's a primary one. I think the why can often be as a secondary, because again, you want to keep it concise and compelling. The why is critical, but oftentimes it serves as a subheading, not necessarily part of your unique value proposition. Yeah?
I just wanted to suggest, since we came up with good suggestions for
Yes.
Pam, that maybe one of the S.M.A.R.T team members could put this in terms of what you would post to convey this, and where you would post. Is that
Sure.
something you're going to be doing later? Or? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's think of some examples of unique value proposition. So this is, may not necessarily apply to here, but just to kind of get us to think about this is, let's say there's a new market, there's a new need, okay? You know, when cell phones came about, first that was a new market, right? So that the unique value proposition for a cell phone company was to provide that product to fill that new need. Improving performance. So initially when computers came or came in the picture, they were very expensive, they're very slow. If you have a product like a computer that is more powerful, faster, you're improving the performance of an existing product, that's a unique value proposition. So you can think of that as, if you're improving performance of an existing brand or existing solution, that could be your unique value proposition. Design. When I think of design, I think for products anyway, I think of Apple. Anything they produce is beautiful. Some people will buy their things. I'm a victim of that, or not a victim. I'm guilty of that, I should say. That I love Apple products. They just look beautiful. They're stunning. And I think that's something that they add value to, is when you have an Apple product, you feel proud of it. The Rolex brand can represent something that's status, right? So if somebody wants to show off, basically, not show off, I mean, it's a good quality product, I'm sure, I don't own one, but wearing one can say something about you, right? So it's the brand or the status, and that's what the Rolex brand provides to their customers. When someone wears a Rolex, people notice it, I think. Your unique value proposition can be, you're offering a service at a lower price, okay? So if you're providing an affordable service, that could be your unique value proposition. You're providing a quality product at a lower price, if you figured out, obviously, how to stay profitable. Your unique value proposition could be money saving. So you're providing a product that saves money to your target audience. So you're adding value to them because you're allowing them access to that product or service at a price they can afford. Reducing risk can be a unique value proposition if you're the insurance industry, or if you're selling warranties, for example. That's the unique value proposition that you're providing, or that your product provides to your client, because you're reducing, or you're making them feel secure and they have peace of mind. Save time. Productivity tools can be a very unique value proposition. All of us are busy, and if your product or service offers something that can help somebody save time, that could be unique value proposition. So there's 6 or so, maybe 8, different unique value propositions to start thinking about what is it that your product or service can offer to them. Does that make sense? Do you have any comments or questions about that? So if, obviously these are only, this is not a comprehensive list, so there's many more. So think about what exactly benefit, what is the unique value proposition, what's the benefit that you're offering to your customers. So let's think about actual examples of unique value propositions. And I gave a presentation 2 days ago about productivity tools, specifically Workflowy and Evernote. And so I thought this would be cool to cover what their unique value propositions are. So Workflowy, maybe you're not familiar with it, but these things are copied and pasted. I should have probably put quotes around it, but these are things that is actually published on the website. On the very top it says, organize your brain. Underneath it, it says, stress less, do more. And their statement is, it's an organizational tool that makes life easier, okay? Can help you organize personal to-dos, collaborate on large projects, take notes, and so on. So thinking of the 3 questions that I raised earlier, how do you craft or how do you define your unique value proposition? Let's talk about what does the solution solve the problem for a specific customer segment. So Workflowy, let's pretend that we're Workflowy's board of directors, okay? So in their tagline that I've shared here, what solution are they providing? Organization.
Less stress.
Less stress, okay? And what customer segment?
Busy people.
Okay, busy people. What's the finished benefit story? What time you can stay organized and do more, can stress less. Okay? And who, what, and why. I think we already covered that. They're addressing somebody who's busy, who has multiple things to do. They're providing organizational tool, and the why is to stress less and do more. Let's do the second one, Evernote. So this is their tagline. Evernote makes it easy to remember things, big and small, from your everyday life using your computer, phone, tablet, and the web. So can someone share with me a little bit about Evernote? What's your unique value proposition, Mike?
One of the key things for me is that it's always with me.
Mm-hmm.
So whether I'm on the desktop, laptop, tablet, or phone, I have everything in my hand that I've done to remember websites or to-do lists or whatever it may be.
It's very organized.
So the solution it provides an organizational tool. Really the problem is that I think it's something that we all face, that we all have a lot of things to do, and so it can help us stay organized, right? Chris?
Well, I think one of the benefits of how they've done Evernote is when I first started using it, I didn't know how to use it effectively, but the way that they've organized it, they're using a metaphor for like notebooks or for the different parts of it. They constantly go back to like a physical metaphor that makes sense, and so then it by using that metaphor, it starts to go, oh, well, I have different notebooks for different subjects in class. I can use the notebooks in Evernote to have, for different clients, or for the different parts of my life, I can create notebooks. So it kind of automatically teaches you how to use it better by the way that they've communicated their product.
I want to check this out. What appeals to me is that it's going to allow me to remember things big and small.
Yes.
And in my life, the small things get all cluttered up with the big things, and you wind up doing 10 small things and you're not doing that important thing.
That's a very good point.
Another thing about it is it's user-friendly and it's applicable to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like for you, it would be applicable at a gym show. You could either take a picture of something
Sure.
that's a competitor, stick it in a note, and then research it, and stick those research
Sounds
notes in there, and have it all organized on one sheet. And then you could do the same thing when you're shopping for groceries. I mean, it's applicable to anything.
Yes,
I have a question, does it
Sure.
have reminders?
it does not.
Oh, okay.
So you have to remember.
I use Evernote.
Unless there's a plugin or add-on, I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen
I
it,
don't
but
use
there
the
might
paid
be.
version, I use the free version.
Yeah, that wouldn't be different. Well, but
How
from
many people use Evernote? Wow, okay. I just signed up for it.
after Wednesday.
Yeah, after listening to Sherif's presentation on it, yeah.
I mean, people have about 10, 15 notebooks, post-its, and.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, right here.
That's all people use. Notebooks for everything.
Well, but you can see that all the things that we talked about, that we mentioned for those who use Evernote, you can, you derived it or this 2-line sentence or their phrase line or their compelling, unique value proposition, it covers it, right, to some degree or another. And I'm sure they're refining their unique value proposition to include things that we maybe covered here that is not as clear getting it from just reading the sentence. Okay?
I've got a question.
Yes.
Could we share your presentation in Evernote?
You can drag files, yeah. And we can think about that because we can drag files into it and we can share that note or that notebook. That's actually not a bad idea.
It just dawned on me is that, you know, if I was being smart, I would be taking my notes in Evernote versus on a piece of paper that I'm gonna put somewhere.
Well, sometimes what I do, because sometimes it's still good to take notes of paper, but I think it helps, and I think Aaron does the same thing too, is after he takes handwritten notes, he actually types it up. So you can type it up in just a Word document or an Evernote.
I've actually seen people, I haven't done it, but they'll write it out, get their phone and take a
Yes.
picture of it, and then you can save that picture of your, so it's basically saving your notes. If you don't have
Yes.
time to write it out.
Yeah, and actually it has great OCR, so it actually recognizes if you search for words and you're in there, but anyway, yeah, but,
Really?
yeah, so.
If
yeah.
anybody gets thirsty, there's cold water and cups in the kitchen through that door, just making sure everybody knows.
But anyway, go back, I think, Evernote, we can talk about it here at some point. Actually, we might talk about it here.
I think we're gonna bring it back in next
Yes.
time you talk,
Oh, okay.
next time you're,
Okay,
because one of our themes coming up is managing your social media.
right.
And that would be a great way to manage
Sure.
your social media.
Sure. But focusing more on the unique value proposition is that they figured out how to phrase all the benefits that we discussed here now, and probably more just from their sentence. So that's the unique value proposition. Does that make sense? So, yeah.
So, but they incorporated all those values into that one sentence, and people noticed different parts of the sentence. It
Right.
appealed to different people for different reasons.
Yeah, and notice it doesn't talk about who in there, but I think anybody can really relate to that, right? So, you know, the three things that I mentioned at the top, they can really vary. If everybody can relate with staying organized, then you don't necessarily have to say the who, you know. Adding the word for everybody is not gonna add value there, right? So everybody can relate to it, so that's why they omitted the who from their unique value proposition. So as you're thinking about your unique value proposition, think about how it relates to your customers and whether everybody can relate to it or not. And if you're filling a canvas for a specific customer segment, then obviously you have to address who that is.
So you could have a different unique value proposition. If you have 5 campuses, you
Absolutely.
have 5 campuses.
Absolutely. It could be the same, it could be just, you know, different ones. Because if, for example, the 25-year-old, going back to Chris's example, maybe they're not looking for life skills, maybe they're looking for ways to, or maybe how to interview better, or how do you present yourself better in an interview, right? So the unique value proposition for the 25-year-old will be very different than a 45, which unfortunately these days, I think at 45, you may still be looking for jobs, but anyway, that's besides the point. So let's talk a little bit about us. Does anybody want to volunteer to?
Be your guinea pig?
Yes.
I'm always a volunteer, I'll be a guinea pig, or definitely a guinea pig,
Okay.
it's got to be one launching, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you filled out your canvas by the way?
No,
Okay.
but
Well,
He
what-
wasn't
what's-
at the meeting last week, but you were the week before, right?
I was there the week before.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually did do a lean canvas for something totally different, but it worked out successfully. So you can apply it to almost anything.
So let's focus on one. So the 3 questions that were listed is, how does your solution solve a problem for a customer segment? Or you can focus on finished benefit story, or the who, what, and why.
How does it solve for a customer segment?
Sure. Who's the customer segment?
The customers, there's two basic, it forks out. One is job seekers, people.
Well, let's focus on
looking
one.
for work.
So job seekers.
Let's go ahead, yeah. So, people that are either unemployed or underemployed or in a career transition. So there's subsets within the job seeker group, that's the customers.
Okay. And what's the problem they're facing?
Problem is, oftentimes they're unable to connect successfully with employers in fields that they actually want to work in or have experience to work in. There's a major disconnect between a lot of, and by the way, the clients are professionals and highly skilled, they're not just anybody. And so there's often a disconnect between those people that are looking for the work and the work that's actually available. And so that's the problem. The solution is that we're attempting to offer is a way to help them connect with those employers through highly specialized networking with a digital template. You can chime in anytime you want, Mike, because Mike knows all about this too.
His science is actually defined to the point of specific to aerospace and IT at this point in the test models. So it is connecting that employee with the employer. There is a large gap there. So there's no relationship where they can make that connection. That's what this company will hopefully provide.
Sure. So in your unique value proposition, you can use terms like professionals, maybe IT, or you can actually use specific ones, right? Connecting IT professionals to employers, or to so you can think about, you're connecting them to the employers, right?
Mhm.
Right, so.
Well, yes and no. There will be a component where we will be kind of holding the hands of both sides and
Sure.
helping them get together, but it's a lot more than just person to person. There's going to be a lot of empowering of people through a digital template that will be very open and a lot of synergy going on there.
So maybe bridging the gap, instead of connecting, you can say bridging the gap.
That's
Something like that.
top of mind immediately.
Sure.
Bridging the gap through a high level of network.
So why do traditional means not work for these particular people?
Well, a lot of the traditional means don't actually do that.
Well, how have they given employees in the past?
Well, there are things that work, but I can tell you, for instance, when I was looking for work recently, there was no place for me to go where I could collaborate with like-minded people within my specific industry, where I could network through those groups and also have the employers plugged into that same network in one area. You can put your resume on Jobbing or Career Builder and hope that somebody calls you. You can join a specific work club, but it may or may not be connected with the actual employers. So,
What's your scale? What are you Southern Arizona, US?
just Pima County.
Pima County, okay.
So is it a face-to-face networking kind of thing,
There's
or
going to
just?
be, I probably should have explained everything. There's a lot that's already been established. Basically, there's going to be certain specialized groups that are going to be represented at first on LinkedIn, where people are going to be able to sign up and collaborate with other people within that industry. They could be people, and the beauty of LinkedIn is it creates a lot of synergy. So people discuss a lot of things specific to a certain industry, and you get people talking, you get people helping themselves out. So there's a lot of empowerment going on there. What's beneficial to the employers is they have people who are collaborating in one area. They know where to go find them. There's already resumes in place. There's a lot more to it, but within these certain groups, they'll be able to network. I'm gonna just leave it at that, 'cause there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, so you can, you mentioned, as you're describing it, you mentioned words like empowering, which, I don't know if you want to use it for that particular customer segment or not, but empowering, connecting, bridging the gap, so those terms that you're using, they're great terms, but we also have to think about whether these individuals would relate to those terms, right?
Exactly.
So empowering may not be a great word for that segment. I don't know, I'm just going up there here, but, you know what I mean? So as you're defining your unique value proposition, think about the terms that they would relate to. These are great terms, but they have to relate to your customer segment. And they have to present the real problem that they're facing.
Exactly.
I think I was keen on the problem, and maybe I just don't know enough about the industry, but I'm trying to understand if you're adequately defining the problem, that it's a real problem, and that you're defining it adequately, so that when you get to the unique value proposition, you sound actually unique. Not just like another networking group, but like truly unique situation, which seemed to get me in my mind back to, are you really adequately defining the problem as they perceive it? Any of you are, but obviously we haven't had all that
Sure,
conversation.
sure.
Because I wasn't sure.
Those
I
are
was
discussions
the
we've actually
uniqueness
had.
of it. But I think it
Yes.
sounds unique, but that
why is it different than just, there's so many networking groups?
Yeah.
Why is it
Well,
different than that?
That's true, except that if they recognize that there is no network groups that address their specific needs, if you're assuming that they already know that, or that that's the gap that they're already feeling, then that, you know, I agree with you, there's many networking groups, but if you're defining your unique value proposition, that you're finding a channel or an avenue for those individuals to meet with like-minded people who will be interested in hiring them or working together on it, with them. Right?
You know, so like if somebody gets laid off from one of those positions, is it like they're suddenly unplugged from that community?
Absolutely not. No, it's actually,
No, I mean, your
No.
company plugs them back together, right, and connects them.
well, it's an avenue for them to connect.
But I guess I'm trying to figure out, is it the problem for them is that suddenly they're unplugged from their world?
Well,
And
they
isolated,
might not
they
have been
become
plugged
isolated.
into their
Yeah.
world in the first place. They might have had a position within an industry, but if they get unplugged from that industry, or at least from their career, how do they get back into it? Where do they go in order to?
I think
there's-
isolation's a good
Mhm.
word.
Yeah,
So
that's-
suddenly they're not in the world anymore at all.
yeah,
So
There's,
it sounds like you've already identified LinkedIn as a big component of your strategy. So
yeah,
what would
we
be?
already got plans to talk with Chris over there.
Now, isn't there a model, Ed, isn't there a model you guys are following from another city?
Yes, you know that. I think.
Yeah, I just didn't know if they helped you guys.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot I haven't, we could talk about this
Okay.
all day
Yeah.
long. I mean, there's a lot of content that's gone into this, but I was looking at it just from the.
Sure, unique value proposition.
Yeah, and
That's
the
sen-
unique value proposition is and has been the thing that we've discussed the most. It's definitely modeled after other successful programs that have been done around the country. And by the way, this
That
is
helps.
this is a volunteer effort, it's not a company, there's no profit involved in this. This is just people that are trying to, that have identified a need and trying to help facilitate that, working closely with Pima County and other groups within Pima County. And so it's unique in that we haven't seen it done at the level that we're talking about. You know, that's
This is blazing new trails.
trying to.
And then as far as, oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as some of the resources that are available, like I think in particular, do you know Dr. Zara Larson?
Dr.
Zara Larson, she's the
Radio
Larson
show.
Group Architects of Change.
Circles.
She's been on
Radio.
what, 4 years, 5 years?
She has her own radio.
5
Yeah.
years, but she's, she has a series of, I've just done this on a personal basis. Okay, I'm a mortgage banker. Most people think that we lend on property. We don't lend on property, we lend on income. And so some of the challenges that we have with some people is that they've taken some type of a pay cut. They, one of their significant others has gotten laid off, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm like the connector. I'm like, okay, you need to, you know what? Before I can do your loan, you gotta get a job. I don't care what job you get, but I need some income to be able to get you this loan. And I want you to go, I'm not a headhunter, but, I've sent people to Zara's podcast because she has interviewed, and the woman's probably in her career, she's retired from Raytheon, she's probably hired, I don't even know, 1,000, 2,000 people over her lifetime. And so that's the type of thing, but one of the things that happens, because back on the other side, I think about my husband, Scott himself. He is actively looking for a new job, and this is a thing that might not have happened. People that are highly skilled in the past, Scott has never had to look for a job, ever, okay? So he's 52 years old, he's never had to look for a job, because they always came to him. That the industry that he is in, which is the semiconductor industry, has been so outsourced that it's a dying industry that for example, just a quick, because it's time, but statistics, at 5 years ago, there were 7,000 rep companies in California, now there's less than 65. That gives you an idea of what's happening within the technical manufacturing. So for somebody who's never had to look for a job because he was always recruited by other companies, like they would recruit him, he's like, no, 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 and then the next thing you know, they made him an offer he couldn't refuse, and then he would move.
And
That might be one of your targets.
absolutely, and I think it's,
It's absolutely, and
That's-
it's an identified target as well. You're on to exactly what it is that we're trying to do.
and I think that's critical because as, you know, as I define, or as the unique value proposition is defined, you're using it in terms of your link, of your canvas, right? So if you're really identifying who the problem is, who the customer segment is, and you're identifying the problems they're going through, you'll be able to create or craft a unique value proposition that really targets them.
Can we take this one more step and,
Sure.
and then maybe move on to another example? But what would Eddie be doing on social media right now to promote this?
Well, so I think you identified LinkedIn, which I think would be very appropriate, right? So,
Now, like, what kind of message would he be thinking about for posting? Because one of the reasons we're talking about the strategy is so that you can be guided in how you're communicating in social media and what types of things you're putting out there and how you're phrasing it. So if anybody has,
I would think blogging would be very effective component of this, because you could have consistent articles from.
sure, sure.
Maybe even get your employer or the people that are searching for employees to submit some information.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Have those
That's
links
key.
to those podcasts,
Yeah.
you know, those podcasts, those links. You know, you may not be able to necessarily get videos of, you know, employers or people who are, you know, all different things, but, you know, certainly a podcast would work also.
Even like some kind of testimonial from somebody looking for a job, you know. I was looking for a job, I felt so helpless, and this is how they helped me. You know, yeah, I mean, it shows trust.
Yeah, and there may be a strategic connection there with temp connections, because you probably hear about people that are looking for a job in a specialized area and don't know how to get back in that world, so you
I
can.
actually wrote your name down the last time I was here.
Absolutely, yeah, and prime example, I met with a guy who's a banker, he's got 50-some odd years in banking, and there's not much we can do for him, because, I mean, he's up here, and he wants to still be inactive, you know, but he would be somebody I would send your way.
Perfect example.
I just wanted to ask real quick, so is the employer actually another customer segment?
Yes, they are the other customer segment.
They're kind of the horse pulling the wagon, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely, and their understanding their needs are integral to this being successful, so that's a major component that we're working on right now is within a feasibility study, if you will, finding out what those needs are in order to tailor the products to them. So,
Right. I was just kind of wondering what's in it for them.
well, what's in it for them is ultimately, it's a pain point, or is it a pain point? You know, that's what we have to find out within the certain segments. What are the pain points that they have? Do they have trouble finding the right people to fill positions or not? Those that we've spoken to say that there is a disconnect there, you know, but there's so much to this, but we have to focus on those needs with them in order to tailor it correctly. It's not just making something and hoping it fits.
Well, and on the employer side, another great contact, and he's done a lot of social media. Do you know Manesh Baxi? You know that name? He's Manesh, M-I-N-E-S-H. His last name is Baxi, B-A-X-I. And he's written a book called How to Stop Hiring Losers. Does a lot of he does a lot of social media. He's got a couple of ebooks. So that's one of the things that he does. But one of the services he provides is the disc testing. Now you're probably most are familiar with disc testing. Disc is the personality profile, and there's a couple of other types of. There's more than just disc that's out there, you know. But
You know, one advantage to the employer is if there was some social element where they could get together. I know that when I did a lot of interviewing of employees, the ones that were really good at interviewing usually ended up being the worst employees. And the ones that were really shy and scared and, you know, shaking at the interview, it was like, where you had to kind of calm them down. It's because they didn't interview very much. The ones that interviewed a lot, that were professional interviewers.
Great point.
You're supposed to Yeah, you know, I had to be really careful not to be sucked into their sales pitch, you
Did we
know?
answer Dale's question? As
Social media?
far as, was it the message or the tools? That your question was more pointed toward?
I was asking about the message, but also that includes the tools.
Yeah, what tool
Yeah,
do you
because I
use?
was also thinking that Chris's presentation, which was, back in September, on how you find the people on LinkedIn. You want to find the employers on LinkedIn so that they know about these groups. So that there are tools that you can use that, we can bring up again. And-
What's also unique about this is LinkedIn is excellent in what it does, and it's extremely, it's easy for people to come and collaborate and convene together and create synergy and a dialogue. That's excellent. But if you ignore the person-to-person side of it and building the relationships directly with
And
employers.
getting to know the person, yeah.
So it's rolling all of that together. So that's the challenge, is to be able to do that effectively so that, you end up with a unique product that can match your unique value proposition.
And
was going to suggest that if you're talking about the messaging, actually Karen's husband is atypical of a major problem that employers have, because if you say skilled professionals, that implies older, because how do you become skilled without time? On the flip side, employers are resistant to hire older people who are skilled because they perceive that they're higher cost. So to me, a messaging campaign would be to the companies that would purport the value of hiring skilled professionals, and that they're not overpriced, and that they're not too tired to work hard, and all that other stuff. And speaking from with heavy gray hair, these are stigmas that you live with. But the fact of the matter is, I can guarantee you, employers are looking to get the best value at the lowest dollar. And when you talk about having multiple decades of semiconductor experience, they're going to compare that to somebody who's just out of school or has a few years under their belt, and they're going to say, this one's going to cost me $30,000 less. But if you did a campaign that basically said, you know what, here's the value that these people represent, and it's not a premium. The fact of the matter is they have 30 years of experience that the other person doesn't have, and here's what it translates into: productivity, new products, quality, and all that for the employer. So actually, when you net it all out, it's a smart move. It's a smart business move to hire an older person who has more experience.
I like what she said about the media too, like the don't hire losers, because if the employers are on LinkedIn and the employees are on LinkedIn and you're socializing, you sort of get to see what they're about,
That's the point.
rather than having to hire them. Yeah, so I don't, I think that's really this, but the don't hire losers thing, you don't know someone's a loser until you look at them for a couple, maybe it's not a day, but sometimes you're like a couple weeks and then you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And so that idea, I mean, in young people, I'm actually shocked at how many young people, what they put on their Facebook page, and they don't understand that employer's gonna go look at their Facebook page, and they're smiling.
That's a lot of the teaching element that we've been talking
Like,
about, is how to
something,
actually, not just use it, but use it correctly.
But as an employer, I mean, I think that would be a really great thing.
I'll tell you, it's not just young people though.
I have nieces and nephews, and I'm just like,
Yeah, no, you're right.
you know.
But it shocks me what
You're
some
right.
actual professionals put on
Professionals.
their Facebook page. I'm like, what?
But the whole idea that I could like try them out almost in a way, in an observational way before they commit.
I think it sounds like a great
Yeah.
product and great
Absolutely.
service to
Absolutely.
community.
Thanks for everybody's input. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
definitely, and I think Tim, what you were talking about, I think that relates to the canvas. So you use words, value, productivity, those terms would be in the minds of the employer.
Absolutely.
Well, and I
Right.
think, when you say best value, because, I mean, as somebody who is actively looking for that key right person for me right now, one of the things I've had to go back to the drawing board is getting more specific as far as what is the skill set that I'm looking for, and, and for me personally, as far as an employee. And so as that gets tweaked even further, I'll put that out, as far as for everybody that's here. But it's been interesting to me, even some people that are you know, I'm like, on a personal basis, horrified that I can get somebody that's graduated from Eller Business School and they cannot even write a basic business letter, I mean, at all. It's like, wow.
Actually,
No, we don't.
I think I think this is obviously a great topic, and if we have time in the end, we can cover another example. But I just wanted to make the point that all those discussions that took place today, that's what we probably have to do as you're defining your unique value proposition. You have to consider what the terms they're using, you have to consider what the benefit what the problem they're facing, and put that concisely. So it's not gonna be a 5-minute, exercise. It's gonna take time to really think about it and to refine it, so you can come up with one and then refine it as you get more input from different sources and identify different problems or different words, different terms that people relate to. Okay?
When you say don't hire losers, what does it cost the employer to hire a loser?
Hire the wrong person, oh my God.
To train them, to get them up to speed, to find out they're a loser.
Yeah,
Right.
been there, done that.
That's why they
So
First time.
it just keeps coming to my mind, return on investment
Absolutely.
is really what's important to
Right.
the
The
person
employer.
hiring.
And there's a
Sure.
lot of return on investment that goes both ways, and you don't wanna hire a loser, but you also wanna look at it from the positive side. You wanna build economic development. You want companies to be strong, so there's more jobs. There's a lot bigger picture than just one company and one employee. There's a lot more to it.
Okay, awesome. So let's
Thank
move
you.
on. Oh, definitely, my pleasure. Well, everybody contributed, so this is great. Let's focus on the second. So if we step back for a moment, so we wanted to today cover the unique value proposition, which we talked about up to this point. The second piece is the unfair advantage. And I found this great definition of an unfair advantage. It's a real unfair advantage is something that cannot be easily copied or bought. Okay? And that's actually, I think a lot of people, most people would admit that this is the most difficult thing you have to think about, or this is the most difficult thing on the canvas, is what is the unfair advantage that you can provide? Okay, and let me talk about why that's an unfair, or why that's the most difficult thing on the lean canvas. But before I do that, let's talk about what's not an unfair advantage. What would not be the correct response for an unfair advantage? If you say we have feature X, or we have the most features, or we have a patent, those are not unfair advantages. And the reason for that is that feature X, you're not the only one who does it, right? So if you provide feature X, someone else can provide feature X. And so there's not unfair advantage there. If you have the most features, if that's your unfair advantage, well, that's not necessarily the right answer, because sometimes people don't care about how many features you have. You want to focus on what's my feature. You need to focus on what's the right feature for their needs. A patent, you can think of a patent as an unfair advantage, but think about this. So any smartphone, any computer, any iPad or tablet has multiple patents in them, right? But that hasn't stopped other people from producing a similar product or a product that produces the basically same experience. So none of these would be considered a real or an unfair advantage. We are better at SEO and social media, right? This is not an unfair advantage because by default, these depend on a third party. When you say SEO, you're depending on Google, algorithm or Google's business to rank you. So that's not an unfair advantage that you can provide to your customers. We are passionate, we work hard, or we're cheaper. These are not, again, unfair advantages because, passion is, someone else can be passionate. You can incentivize someone to be passionate about something, right? Work hard. If you work 23.5 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, you work really hard, right? But can you compete with a company that can hire 10 people just working 20 hours a week, right? So working hard by itself is an unfair advantage. We're cheaper. I don't think you should compete, or cheap price itself is not an unfair advantage because I can guarantee someone else will be able to offer the same product at a much lower price. We're all PhDs and MBAs.